Cybersecurity remains the single hottest theme in this market, and right in the middle of it all is FireEye, which does threat prevention and forensic analysis in a hack's aftermath. FireEye stock is up roughly 50% year-to-date. It's up 10% since we last spoke to the CEO in May. The company reported numbers tonight that were stronger than expected on both the top and the bottom line. However, in a surprising move, the company announced that its CFO is departing for another firm. And that always raises eyebrows anytime it happens, something that I have often pointed out on my own show and in my own books. So is the stock being overly punished in the after hours for that personnel change, given its prospects and just reported strong quarter? Why don't we dig deeper with Dave DeWalt? He's the chairman and CEO of FireEye. To hear more about the quarter and his company's prospects, Mr. DeWalt, welcome back to Mad Money.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
All right, Dave, good to see you. Now, it looks like you guys are now on a path to profitability, but I have to tell you, as someone who loves growth, I'd rather see you hit that billion-dollar sales mark first. Are you able to do both at the same time, get closer and closer to profitability and get to the billion sales that, to me, signifies you're really well on the way?
Absolutely, Jim. If you look at even just the second half guidance alone, we have a run rate well over $1 billion in sales. Obviously, we had a very strong quarter overall, 57% growth on the top line, 77% deferred revenue growth. Industry growth was great. Geography growth was great. The portfolio was diversified, and we're positive cash flow for the first time. So, we're clicking on all cylinders. The Mandate and FireEye acquisition has proven itself to get better and better every quarter, and I think the best is yet to come. I
know that this industry is competitive. You do compete with Palo Alto, a company we've had on many times, but someone at Visa made a decision to pick which one's coming. Why didn't you think they went with FireEye and not with someone else?
Well, there's a lot of misperception, Jim, that we actually do compete with Palo Alto. For the most part, we do not. We have a very diversified product platform on the network, some on the endpoint and the cloud, services. And a lot of companies actually choose both of us. So, both companies are doing well. We rarely compete with Palo Alto. I think they're doing great as a company. But when you really look at what FireEye is trying to do, stop threats at every part of the architecture, we really don't compete with them. We're doing quite well ourselves. And like I said, I think the best is yet to come.
Well, let's talk about that, about the threats. I just want to clarify something. You were on Mad Money in May. And you talked about the idea that if someone hired you, you were basically indemnified because of a certain certification you have from the Department of Homeland Security. Some have quibbled with that subsequently and said that basically it was being too broad. Why don't you just give us some enlightenment on that?
Yeah, I got a lesson in basically, but what we are is we got the first cybersecurity company who's ever gotten this certification, which is a big deal. And we got the highest level of certification. And under acts of terror, whenever a company is breached because of an act of terror, they certainly can get protection in the legal court systems from the expenses derived from that breach, which can be a very big deal. And so a lot of companies are getting breached. What is an act of terror? Is the Chinese military an act of terror? Is Iran or Syria, who's attacking companies, an act of terror? Is the Russians, the Ukrainians an act of terror? Is North Korea and Sony an act of terror? And when you look in cybersecurity, there is a whole lot of very egregious attacks happening around the world. Having protections like this certification is a really good step in the right direction. FireEye was the first to get it. We're the only company who has it. And it's really helping sales and it's helping companies. So far, this has been a very positive thing for all of our clients and for us.
What I wanted to ask is because I noticed the strategic alliance with Ace Group. That's a company that we think is actually the best in multi-line property casualty, and also collaboration with Marsh. We figured that some of that is because of this designation that you do have.
Well, Jim, what you're seeing is innovation by FireEye, not just in products and services, but with our partners as well. And you just used two good examples. I mean, Marsh Mac is a fantastic company. Ace is a fantastic company. We've also announced partnerships, like you mentioned, with Visa and Hewlett-Packard and Singtel and others. We're trying to transform the security industry with the way it needs to be solved. We need cyber insurance. We need indemnifications. We need protections. We need to be able to solve the problem differently with people and product together, and that's what Mandate and FireEye bring. So a lot of this is innovation, and as you can tell, Visa's starting to perform with us, HP's starting to perform with us. A lot of these relationships are beginning to take roots, and we had one of our strongest quarters ever in second quarter 2015 as a result of that.
I've got to ask this because I had tremendous faith in your CFO, Michael Sheridan, who's been with you for a while. I see he intends to leave after 4 years to go to a private technology company. A lot of times I get nervous when CFOs leave. Reassure me somehow that this is a good opportunity for him and you've got a good bench.
Yeah, Jim, there's nothing to worry about here. I mean, three things. First of all, we have a fantastic interim CFO. Frank Verticana has been a CFO, public company before, steps right in. We had one of our strongest quarters ever. And quite frankly, these CFO transformations are natural. He's a bit of a startup IPO type of CFO. We're now needing to get to the next level, like $1 billion type company and beyond. We also brought in a lot of leadership this quarter, new board members, new leadership across the board. You'll see as we announce things, new head of government, new head of industries. We had 30,000 applications this past quarter to come join FireEye. We hired 180 people in the quarter. I mean, a lot of positive things happening. And already there's a lot of people who want this CFO job. So everything is good. I think it's a very natural thing, these transformations from startup to mature company. And I wish Mike really well. He's a great guy, did a great job for the company, and not to worry.
One last question. Speaking of worry or not worrying, I mean, you've always been candid with us. Are there some things going on right now we're going to read about in the next 2 weeks that are going to drop our jaws about some cyber terrorism incident that you're working on?
Well, you just saw one yesterday, Jim. We announced what's called Hammer Toss, which was a very aggressive military-based Russian attacker. One of the more ingenious attacks we'd seen in a long time. Hit some very high-value targets in the United States. We weren't at liberty to say who, but when you're using things like Twitter and GitHub and a very strong supply chain stenography to obfuscate the attacks, I mean, this is a whole nother level. This cyber arms race is serious between nation states around the world. I mean, FireEye and Mandiant are right in the middle of that. We're announcing it. This had big coverage just yesterday.
Right.
A lot of our clients are asking how to protect themselves from it. So you're going to see more and more of that from us, and we're delivering on it.
Well, congratulations on beating the numbers top and bottom and every single line. Dave DeWalt, Chairman, CEO of FireEye. Always good to see you, sir. Thank you for coming on Mad Money.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me.
This remains maybe the strongest trend, unfortunately, that is going on right now in business, and FireEye's right in the middle of it and breaking all the records. Mad Money's back there for the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.